Melody here on the Nathan's Art channel. I'm using the Adobe Fresco's live oil brushes to make this portrait. They let me continue to blend to my heart's content. If I had to describe my technique, I'd probably say that I work by smudging the colors in on the canvas until it looks right. For me, it's important to not use a ton of layers though. I want to recreate the oil painting experience digitally, and I know that it's not going to be exact, but I want to try to work on a single layer when I can. Every now and then I'll use a glaze, what I would consider like a glaze layer, like I'll overlay a layer with a lower opacity and then merge it down like you would on a dry painting. You would just put a glaze over it to adjust the colors a little bit. And so sometimes I do that, but I always merge it down and keep working on the single layer. I also don't really use layers to work around things. I make it harder on myself just to get the full experience. I do it the hard way, I guess. It's just part of the way I like to work. And I think eventually if I switch back to oils, the backspace will be hard enough to forget about. So I'm trying to stick to the hard way to do things, I guess. And what brings me back to the studio every week is the idea that everyone has been on a journey, and we've all spent our lifetimes learning lessons. So we each have a story to tell of the events we've lived through, how we've treated others, and how we've responded to what life's thrown at us. And I believe that capturing one's portrait can be used to share a glimpse of that story. And I've been making things for a long time, but I haven't felt like my art is art that I can easily talk about yet. So this is the first painting that I'm making as a huge leap toward that. And as part of that process, I had been considering how to start making art that mattered to me. And so I was looking up other portrait artists on Instagram to see if they could help me feel inspired. One of the artists who's a portrait artist that stuck out to me is Stephen Higginson. He's a portrait artist in Scotland, and I randomly just found him on Instagram. What inspired me is that his portraits use emotion and context to create stories. So he uses the background information behind the people to create the context of his stories, and I think I might be missing that in what I've made in the past. In a natural kind of way, I thought of my main role as a mother and decided that a good next step for my art was to try and capture learning moments from my life to see if I could depict them in a way that both told a story and made the observer feel something. I feel like the inspiration for this idea actually struck at the perfect time because that very day, this that you see here was the scene of my breakfast table in the morning. My son was a little bit disappointed, to say the least, when his little sister knocked the water over and ruined his art. You see, he and I had sat at the dinner table the night before, spending one-on-one time drawing this. I had shown him how to draw pumpkins on this paper with our markers, and he morphed the idea into a laser fighting warrior scene with... Some of them have more than a couple eyes, and they have laser guns. And it was just a lot of fun to do that with him, and just as you would expect, he turned it into even more fun with his imagination. And as we worked side by side, we created this little narrative, and it was a lot of fun to spend this quality time with him. And I had actually planned to tuck it away as a memento to savor this special moment with him. As a mom, I feel like sometimes it's easy to feel exhausted, and so I wanted to save a special moment that I had shared with him, but I forgot to put it away. Yeah. So when morning rolled around, the water was spilt, and I went into get things cleaned up mode and just crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. It was actually only to be redeemed by this random artist that I follow on Instagram, who inspired me to dig it out of the trash and recreate the scene. He inspired me to try and capture moments from my own life that mean something to me, and to find a way to continue to cherish this memory and all the facets of it. So it's crazy how intertwined our lives are because of the internet and how different people can influence you. There's a lot of meaning from my perspective in this painting, with spending time with my son, working together on a project, and helping him see how even accidents that appear to ruin all of your hard work can turn into a neat opportunity. And I was starting to think about it from his perspective too. he was really forgiving of the accident, and when he saw me, his mom, crumple up the art and toss it in the trash, he was kind of upset. He was like, "Hey, Mom." And I was like, "Bro, it's ruined. We can just..." Bro is the shorter version of... That's his nickname. I'm not calling him Bro. That's his nickname. um, but he was upset with me, and I said, "Hey, buddy, it's ruined. We can just make another one. You're really good at drawing. We'll just do this again, and it'll be just as fun the next time." And so we moved on. He was like, "Okay, that makes sense," and walked off. And a couple minutes later, after I was looking up the artists, he was really surprised and thrilled with the idea when I told him that I needed him to come and remake the scene of what happened to his artwork. And it was kind of fun to see how excited he was about it, because he was really selling it. I mean, I love more than anything the way kids express themselves with their hands, and I feel like 90% of his disappointment is in his hands and 10% is in his eyes. He was really actually excited to see that his art got turned into a painting, so the whole situation just kind of resolved itself. But that's why the paper looks like it's in such bad shape, because it was tossed in the trash and forgotten about for like 30 minutes before I dug it out to make this painting. And I think that's okay. I really am happy and excited about this, because this may be one of the first pieces that I've put thought into and felt inspired to make, and that I can actually talk about. And something that actually brings me to a space and time in my life, and everything about that moment or that direction that I'm headed in feels exciting to me. And it kind of is daunting because I don't know if I can do it again, but I want to say I can. So something I wanted to see if you guys had any... I want to open this up in a way that you guys feel comfortable in the comments to tell me how this portrait is affecting you. Did it bring something to your mind? Is there something about it that is tripping you up? The best way I think is just to leave a comment, but I'm not sure. I'll keep thinking on how to do that. I think I've talked enough now though for this, so I'm just gonna let you guys enjoy the finishing touches with a little bit of music. Thank you guys so much for checking in on what I'm making. It means a lot to me to have people curious about what I'm making and how I'm making it and why it matters to me. And I think that's cool. I left a couple little hints in this video, they're little Easter eggs of what my next portrait project is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be as successful as this one or as successful as I feel like this one was, but I'm trying to grow as an artist, so we'll see what comes out of it. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm grateful for you. I'll see you guys next time.